Liz, welcome back to the Create Podcast. I am so excited to have you on the show. Anytime you're generous enough to share your energy with us and your wisdom, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. This will be fun.
Yeah, so first of all, congratulations. This gorgeous book is
Thank
out,
you.
and I know you've been like nonstop talking
Yeah.
about it, speaking on stages,
Oh, I'll keep
doing
going.
book signings. And so, congratulations. How are you
Thank you.
feeling?
Besides tired, I just feel really excited. I feel very energized by the fact that there has been a really lovely response, both from artists and from collectors. And I think that this is just opening up a conversation that continues to really evolve in the art world about accessibility in artwork and how artists can have careers and how collectors can get started. And so it's been really interesting to see, like, depending on who the person is that's reading the book, like what their perspective is on it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something I would love to dive into. But first of all, I want to ask you about the format of the book because
Yeah.
this is different from a lot of art books. You know, there's tons
Yeah.
of books highlighting the lives of artists, art careers, and only decor, but you bring in the heart and soul of the art as well as the interior design element, as well as like the actual practical
Yeah.
how to install it. Can you tell me a little bit about the gap that you may have seen when you started writing it and what you wanted to fill?
Yeah. I mean, look, as a gallery owner, I'm in people's homes all of the time. And they repeatedly ask me the same questions. So, some of the things that were really important to me when we were putting together the initial concept for the book was very, very colorful, very joyful. I wanted this book to be a representation of me, the gallery, the artwork, the artists that we work with, all of that. And I wanted it to just feel like so inviting that people really wanted to flip through it. And so that's why there's like color on every single page. This is not
Yes.
just a, white paged book.
Yeah, no, it's not.
So, I get questions about, like, how do I even find my style? So we really kind of start with some very beginning things. And then depending on where you are in your art collecting journey, I hope there's something in there for everybody because there's a lot of different styles represented. And that's the other thing too, that I didn't want people to think that they had to buy these like oversized large paintings in their very modern homes because that's what you see a lot of the time, that it's like these homes that almost mimic galleries, right? And that's just not what I'm seeing when I'm going into people's homes, and that's not how I personally live. So I really wanted to show like real world examples. These are people that live lives, have families, have pets, like all of those things that people kind of like, I've got little kids, can I have art? And I'm like, yeah, me, I do, my dog is in this book.
That's
So it's like
amazing.
you see so many. There's a gallery wall from my client Tina that is amazing, that she included cat shelves within the gallery wall, and that her cat is laying among all of this beautiful art. So I just want people to see that there's so many ways to collect art, and it can be really, really fun, and you can live with it, and it can enhance your home and your life in so many ways.
Yeah, beautiful. And you even have bathroom decoration, which
Yeah.
like that was a thing. And I actually
Yeah.
didn't really see a lot of art in bathrooms until I started renting Airbnbs. And I'm like, oh wait, people hang, and it was not the best. Some of it was very questionable. I'm still laughing at one. Maybe I'll share. There was like a nude male figure, but like with the head cut off. It was very
Oh
disorienting.
God.
So you have some alternatives for what you can do in
Yes.
your bathroom.
Yeah, so we went through kind of like even room by room and what were some things that you need to consider and what would be like best materials, all of that stuff. So, I mean, these are again all questions like, can I have art in my kitchen? Can I have art in my bathroom? And so we talk about like, okay, well, if it were me, I would be looking at like tile or non-paper pieces for a bathroom, things that can be wipeable. There's a lot of artwork. I mean, I know it kind of makes people cringe to think about artwork being wipeable, but there is actually a lot of artwork out there that it's no big deal to take a cloth to. So, and then actually, we talk about later in the book how to clean your artwork because that's something that people don't really think about very often. So, I really want, no matter again, like I said, where you are in your art collecting journey, there's something in here for you because, maybe you're someone that has 10, 15 pieces, but you haven't dusted them yet. So maybe it's time we start talking about that. I mean, there's like, you have to think about how you actually practically live with it.
Yeah, I love that. And you also have tips for installing art, which is
Yep.
like a huge, for some of my collectors who might be a little bit with more disposable income, they might
Yep.
hire someone to do it. But
Yep.
for many people, that's not an option or not yet
Mhm.
anyway. So I really love that you have measurements. And I mean, this is even for artists. Like the other side of it is too, if an artist wants to show in their home what an art collection might look like, this
Yeah.
is a great guide for doing that as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
thank you for generously writing about that. The other thing I wanted to ask you is this, and this I mentioned to you before we started recording, is I've been speaking a lot to younger artists and
Mhm.
students who are pursuing a career. And one thing that I love about this book is that it shows, once again, like you said, multiple styles, multiple like
Yeah.
techniques and mediums and approaches. And that's not something that we talk about in art school, that art lives in people's homes or even their
Mhm.
businesses. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit about that? Because you do this really well. You partner with interior designers, with other brands, and you really integrate art into life. And what is your hope for someone reading this book that maybe they'll take away to kind of break that barrier down between like the white cube or the
Yeah.
academic circle and like
Yeah.
life?
Yeah. Look, this is a book for people who want to live with artwork and they're curious about it, right? But I also think it's a book for artists that are making work that is going to be lived with. And the MFA programs can be incredibly valuable. I'm not here to like
No, me
say
neither.
they all need to go away, right?
Yeah.
But what I do think gets overlooked often after having so many conversations with artists is there's a couple of things. One, I don't think enough business skills are being taught because
No.
artists are they are entrepreneurs, they are businesses, and we're focusing a lot on the creation and great. I mean, I want there to be great artwork out there in the world, but okay, you actually have to live and you have to pay your bills and you have to market your work. So much is asked of artists these days. Even if you do have gallery representation, we partner with our artists in so many ways doing the marketing. Photography skills of being able, just you have to have so many skills to be an artist, right? And maybe you get to a point where you have a full studio team at some point, but here's the deal, you're still running a studio and a business that has employees. I mean, there's just so much to it there. So that's one side of things. And then two, I think the MFA programs often are thinking about like, okay, how do we display it in a gallery? How do we display it in a museum? But I want to talk about artwork that people are going to live with because that is going to be what makes artists money. I mean,
Yeah.
there are very, very few artists that make a living, making just installations in a gallery, and that's the end point. So if you want to figure out how you want to be a solo entrepreneur artist that doesn't have gallery representation, or what does your business look like with a gallery, those galleries are going to want to sell and place artwork. So when I receive artwork sometimes from a newer artist that, for example, the level of finish is not high enough to be in someone's home, that sort of thing, I want you to really be thinking as an artist that this is going to live on someone's walls and hopefully become an heirloom. And so
Yeah.
that's what we look at a lot at the gallery. We're not, ultimately we're a business and we want to make artists money. That's part of our mission. And to be able to do that, we got to sell work that people are going to want to live with.
Yeah, and I love the way you guys do it too. You are organized and you advocate and
Thanks.
you're always showing up. Like I really, really, as an artist and as a fellow business owner, I just appreciate that. You
Thank
inspire me
you.
because it's hard to see. Like I don't see that a lot. And not once again, I'm not against academia either. But
No,
to your
right.
point, I think just a little sprinkle of reality, of like
Sprinkle of reality.
survival and real. Because like for me as an immigrant, it was so demoralizing because I wanted so badly to be successful as an artist,
Right.
but I also
Right.
knew like I do not want to starve. I've had my share of struggle. I don't want to
Yeah.
live like this. I want to be
Right.
able to have a nice home and like thank God it's happened over the years, but
Yes.
it's for it was like this there's two parts. Like I want to be the artist with a capital A and I want to sell my work. And it was kind of looked down on when I started to sell my work early on in
Yeah.
like my early 20s and even as a teen. But I think there's room for both. And I wanted to ask you if you've seen examples, and this is for our artist audience specifically, of artists who might have commercial success. Maybe they have a different body of work or a certain type of work that they make for the gallery or for the interior designer. And then they also might have like a museum show or, more white cube vibes. If you've
Yeah.
seen that, or how are people managing it? Because I believe you can have both.
I do too. I believe that you can have both. Certainly, I work with artists that have different lines, basically, if they have different series of artwork, and some of it feels a little more commercial than others. I don't personally work with any artists that are creating just pure installation
Yeah.
because, look, the purpose of this business is to sell artwork, and we just don't have the time, capacity, all of that. I believe in the work specifically that museums are doing to be able to show that type of work. And I think that's really exciting. And I believe it should exist in the world. We can't be all things to all people, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that what you were saying earlier that kind of is so strange to me is that oftentimes, specifically in the art world, I find that people are very skittish to talk about the fact that we want to sell the work.
Yeah.
That at the end of the day, this is the way we choose to make money. And people want to talk about art for art's sake. And I believe in that. And I believe there are so many cases that that is wonderful and it enriches lives.
Yeah.
But again, we can't be all things to all people. And we are trying to make money for artists. And of course, ourselves, right? This is how we
Yes.
choose to make a living. But I think it's very strange when artists or art world people don't want to talk about the money of it all because I mean like this is the way that we are so lucky we get to
Yeah.
make money this way, but this is how we choose to do it. So we got to put
Absolutely.
food on the table. We want a lovely home, like all of the things you were just talking about.
Or even
um
art supplies. Those things are very
yes, I mean
important.
all of the things that it takes to run a business as an artist. There is so much, the shipping, the meat, the materials. You guys, you have a lot of expenses. And so money is what makes it happen. I don't know
Yeah.
what to
I
say.
think that I know I appreciate that. And it's so real. I mean, it's like the most obvious thing, but it's just not
Yeah.
talked about enough. And it's this
Right.
big, mysterious, shameful thing. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that. And from the collector side, what do you wish that maybe artists knew about collectors when they interact with the work? Let's say the artist isn't there and you're giving them a tour of the gallery or showing the latest collection. Like, what do you wish that artists knew that happened between closed doors?
Right. I think one of the things that is happening more and more is that work is being shown unframed.
Mm,
So your finishing really needs to be high end because either clients are choosing to forego framing altogether if it's a canvas work. Because look, we all know framing is becoming just crazy expensive. I believe in it, but so oftentimes our clients are choosing to forego. So let's make sure that like we are finishing the work in the best way that we can. Artists
applied
are
to like, oh, sorry. Does this
no,
apply
go
to
ahead.
like works on canvas, like
Yeah.
oil paintings or works on paper?
I would say works on paper ultimately have to be framed no
Yeah.
matter what. So I'm a little less worried about that. I do think that galleries are, I mean, we are showing a lot of work unframed at first and bringing it out to them as a paper piece because we don't want to invest in the framing without knowing where the end user
Yes.
is. And we may frame it in like a mahogany frame, but they are a black and white contemporary home and it's just not going to be right. So I don't want to waste that. I mean, I have to be a smart business person, right? So we're bringing those out. So I think you do have to think about it in some way, but ultimately the paper is going to be framed. I want to talk about like the canvases that really aren't being framed the same way that they were. They're not every client is choosing the float frame. We're not choosing the float frame every time anymore. So let's think about like really finishing the work and the edges, even if it's just painting a crisp white line around the end.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is that I think giving as much information about yourself and the subject matter to your gallerist, if there are going to be conversations that you're not a part of, which happens all the time in the gallery world, right? Giving the gallerist as much information because our clients are becoming more and more savvy of really wanting to understand who the artist is, what it's about. And it's not just about like that over the couch matching artwork anymore. And I love that I'm seeing that, and that,
Yeah.
it's really evolving, that the clients want to know more. They're becoming just so educated. And I love that they're throwing themselves in. So, anything that I can personally be armed with to be able to say this is a connection point for a client and a artwork, I think is really important. And then, are you an artist that makes work at a variety of price points? That I think that I have seen become more and more prevalent, where clients are fall in love with a piece, but it's not always within their budget. Are you the type of artist that can create a variety of sizes and budget points so that people can enter into collecting in your series, your whatever that is? Lots of entry points is what I think is helping artists become really successful too.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
One other question I wanted to ask you is, as a woman in business, are now, and congratulations on your recent speech. I wish I was there to hear it.
Oh, thanks.
And just being out in among other businesses and doing book signings, speaking, and I know you were part of your local community as well. What are some sort of hurdles or challenges do you see yourself like maybe communicating to other businesses about the arts? Because I still feel like it is this black sheep, but maybe it's changing. I'm just curious if there's any interesting conversations or the way that you're framing your business.
Yeah. I think one of the things that always surprises people, and I had many people come up, I spoke at a conference called Women Lead Change. That's what you're
Yes.
referencing. I gave a kind of inspirational business / life talk, but it was all centered around famous works of art and what we can take from them and the artists and bring that into our own lives. It was about being the artist of your own life.
I love it.
And, I had several people come up and say, "Oh, I saw your speech was going to be about art," and I automatically thought it was going to be boring, but it was actually so interesting. And I'm like, I know
that is not what we want to hear.
Somewhere. I know there's a compliment in there somewhere. But I think that unfortunately, automatically, people have a fear of looking stupid. And if they feel like they don't understand the art world, they almost reject it before it can reject them. Does that make sense?
That totally makes sense.
And so, what is the way that we can talk about art in a really welcoming way? And I think it goes back to thinking of the art world like a business, like any other business. I mean, I can talk to accountants and still have some of the same issues in my business as they do.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to find that level playing field, and then finding ways and language around the art world that brings people in. And I think that, we just so often talk about the accessibility, the welcomingness of it all. And then I think also just really bringing the passion. People are so attracted to passion. And that's what artists have in spades. So if you can open up and really talk about what excites you about your work, people are just going to it's magnetic.
I love that so much. And that's what I'm trying to do with the magazine as well. More so, of course, I want to continue serving the artists, but I mean, the more we're just celebrating 10 years this year, and I'm just like, okay, how can we reach a broader group so that everyone can benefit from this? And I'm really inspired by the way that you're doing that. And congratulations. I'm glad that you're out in the world. You're the messenger.
I feel happy to be out in the world.
Yes, I love that so much. Is there any other fun facts that we need to be aware of when it comes to this beautiful publication?
Oh, thanks. Almost 200 creatives were a part of that. And so I think that, and then in addition, I was so lucky to be able to work with Simon Schuster, Simon Element. I have the best agent with Ultra Literary. And I think it just, it's silly that it's just my name on the cover, because so many people made it what it is today. And so, yes, the work of 150 plus artists, photographers, interior designers. I just feel really lucky that I got to work with that many incredible people, and that they believed in the vision, and they were willing to lend their creativity to it. So there's a lot of really special people that were a part of it.
It's beautiful. I love, and you have other galleries in here as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's really inspiring, and I can't wait to fully dive in. I wanted to also ask you something for both our business owners or anyone who is building anything, whether it's a business or an art career. You are not someone who's based in London, New York, or LA. And that's so beautiful because you've truly made it work for you. For someone who might feel insecure about their location, I hear this all the time from my community. Do you have any words of wisdom?
Oh, so last week when I was at the conference, I met Joanna Gaines,
Wow.
and she was incredible. But what I told her was that she is such an inspiration because I'm a creative that wants to stay in Des Moines, Iowa. And she's a creative that wants to stay in Waco, Texas, right? And now she said during her speech that she has 650 employees.
Oh my
That's
God.
insane. That feels like half of Waco
Crazy.
to me. So anyway, so I just think I hope that I can show people that you can stay where you want to live, be where you want to be, use the internet and social and all of that in a really savvy way. Creativity happens everywhere. It is not limited to New York, Los Angeles, London, Paris. It's
Yeah.
creativity happens everywhere. And so I hope that you think about the ways that your location actually separates you. One of the wonderful things about being from Des Moines, Iowa is that I'm a bigger fish in a smaller pond, right? And so use that to your advantage. We have so many specific businesses that are located here in Des Moines, and that's the case of everywhere, right? So think about how where you are is actually one of your superpowers.
I love
And
that.
people are doing it all the time. So there's so many people to look to. I hope that it's really kind of a thing of the past that people think that you have to be in a bigger city.
Yeah, same here. But I still sometimes hear about it, so I
I
have to
do. I
address
know.
it.
I mean, people are like, "You're in Des Moines," and I'm like, "Yeah, come on, I'll show you
It's,
around."
and what? And you're doing a stellar job. And
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you. You too.
Well, Liz, I'm so grateful for you. Tell our listeners what's next. They can pick up a copy of the book anywhere books are
Yes.
sold.
Everywhere
And
books are
anything else going
sold.
on?
Gosh, honestly, I have a lot of big dreams of what is next. But for the summer, I'm going to go sleep and
Yes.
hang out with my family. And then I've kind of given myself a couple of months to just really enjoy it because I'm not always good at that.
Yes.
and
Feel that.
and then I'm going to hit it hard again and get back on the message. So, you'll see me sleeping a lot for the next couple of months.
And you deserve it. And I hope you
Thank you.
get lots of delicious, deep REM.
Yeah, exactly.
Liz, thank you so much again for coming on the
Thank
show.
you.
I'm so, so proud of you and
Thanks,
grateful for
Kat.
you. And I can't wait to chat with you again soon.
Same. Appreciate it.